It started with footsteps, just one pair too many. And by the time we saw the photo, we realized we hadn't been alone for days. In the summer of 2022, my best friend Jeremy and I decided to take on a big chunk of the Appalachian Trail. We were both recent college grads, burnt out from screens and deadlines, and we figured 2 weeks hiking through the mountains would reset us. Just the two of us, nature and silence. It started off exactly like that. The trail was brutal in places, steep climbs, narrow ridges, but it was beautiful. Miles of green that didn't seem to end. Birds, wind, the crunch of boots. Jeremy went to gather firewood and I stayed behind to unpack our gear. That's when I first heard it, footsteps. Coming from behind the trees, maybe 10 or 15 feet away. Crunch, crunch. Then silence. We'd hike most of the day, set up camp by evening, and spend nights talking by the fire until sleep hit us like a hammer. The first few days it was everything we wanted. But then, on the 4th night, something shifted. I stepped over toward the tree line, looked through the brush nothing, watching the tree line flicker under the firelight. I keep hearing it, like someone's just barely out of sight. Not because I was tired. I kept thinking I heard something behind us. Branches snapping, footsteps on gravel. Still, we didn't want to seem paranoid. Maybe it was an animal pacing us. A deer. A bear, even. The beam didn't catch any eye shine. No movement. No reflection. Still, we decided to sleep in shifts that night. One of us stayed up while the other dozed. As long as it wasn't a person, we figured we were fine. Jeremy said, "Let's push through. Maybe it'll stop once we cross the next ridge." Once or twice I even spun around, expecting to see another hiker. Like someone or something was walking a wide circle around us. We both heard it, just behind us, matching our pace. Not running, just walking, like it knew we were scared, like it liked it. We both felt it. When I woke up, the sun was rising, and Jeremy was standing on the trail, just staring into the woods. Slow, steady steps crunching dry leaves. Then silence. And again farther around. Like it was pacing. Nothing. Pale. Sweating. He pointed to the trees and said, "It was right there." Watching me. It crouched. It smiled. They asked if we'd seen anyone. We hadn't. They said the area had a few hermits over the years, but none known to be dangerous. We packed up and decided to take the quickest path to the next ranger station. We didn't even finish breakfast. We just wanted out. Nothing moved, but the woods felt too quiet. Something just waiting for us to sleep. We found a patch of flat ground beside a boulder and collapsed there, backs to the stone, flashlights gripped tight. In the background, between 2 trees, there was something. He stared at it for a long time without speaking. Then he just whispered, "That's what I saw. The last night, that's it." Crouched low. Pale. Thin. Its eyes were reflecting the flash like an animal's. But it wasn't an animal. Its hand-long bent fingers was gripping the bark of the tree like it was bracing to move. A couple minutes later, he came crashing back from the opposite direction, arms full of dead wood. We were setting up camp near an overlook. Not an official site, just a flat spot off the trail. I figured it was Jeremy, maybe circling back around. But when I called his name, no answer. Not animal, not boots. Bare feet. Human. Too small for a man, too wide for a child. Just ... Wrong. like someone had been walking circles around our camp while we slept. Just squirrels. This place is crawling with them. You hear something just now? I asked. He shook his head. I let it go, but I couldn't shake the feeling. I kept glancing over my shoulder that night. The next day, as we hiked, I caught myself stopping more than usual. By the time we reached our next site, a clearing beside a stream, Jeremy noticed too. I swear someone's behind us, he muttered while setting up the tent. We scanned the trail behind us, but saw no one. That night, just as we were getting ready to sleep, we heard it again, this time from both sides of the camp. Jeremy stepped out with his flashlight and scanned the woods. Nothing but trees, nothing but black. I don't know if it helped, honestly. Every time I closed my eyes, I dreamed of something crawling toward the tent. By the 8th day, we were exhausted, tired of being watched, because by now we knew. This wasn't just nerves. We debated turning back, but we were almost to the halfway point. It didn't. On the 10th morning, we woke up to find small bare footprints in the soft dirt outside the tent. That was the last straw. But even as we moved faster, even when we tried to spread parts of the trail, we could still hear it. The final night, we didn't set up camp. We were too shaken to sleep. At some point in the night, I must have dozed off. "What is it?" I called out. He didn't answer, just turned slowly to look at me. We didn't wait another minute. We hiked the final stretch in silence, not stopping for food, not stopping for anything. When we finally made it to a ranger station, we told them we thought we were being followed. We left that same day. Weeks later, I was going through the photos from the trip. Most of them were normal trees, sunsets, campfires, but one made my stomach twist. It was a photo Jeremy took of me walking ahead of him, somewhere on day 6. I showed it to Jeremy. We never went back, and sometimes when it's quiet enough, I think I hear it again, pacing just beyond the edge of the trees, still following. Every night at 3:12 a.m., the scream came again, same voice, same blood-curdling pitch, from a place no one should have been able to reach. And the worst part wasn't the scream itself. It was when it stopped, like it had found what it was looking for. I've always been the kind of person who prefers solitude. I don't do crowds, I don't do small talk, and I definitely don't do group vacations. But this time I chose a more remote section, somewhere quiet, off-grid, a good few hours from the usual trailheads. I set up my tent near a stream, got a fire going, and cooked a small meal as the light disappeared behind the trees. A woman's scream. Not distant, not faint. It echoed up from the hollow just past the ridge. It was long, hoarse, panicked. It sounded like someone being chased. I felt at peace, completely alone. I found an old ranger station online that had long since been abandoned. A fox can sound like a scream, or maybe I had a nightmare, but nothing came. But something about the scream, it didn't fade the way normal sounds do. It stopped instantly, cut off like someone had slammed a door on it. And from there I bushwhacked into the hills until I reached a little hollow cradled between 2 steep ridges. I just lay in my sleeping bag, heart hammering, ears straining for any sound of footsteps, any rustling, anything moving through the trees. So when I booked a week off work last spring, I didn't go to a beach or a city. I packed up my gear and drove out to the Appalachian mountains for a solo camping trip. The ranger was friendly, but skeptical. I'd done it before, plenty of times. Never anything went wrong, just me in the woods. No cabins, no roads. That hollow's landlocked between steep cliffs. Not even deer pass through there easily. I'll file the report, but you're probably just hearing echoes. It was perfect, secluded, shaded, and silent. It was as if I'd imagined it. That night I fell asleep easily. Until 3:12 a.m. I remember checking my watch because I was jolted awake by something I'd never heard in the woods before, a scream. I sat up fast, heart pounding. My first instinct was that someone had gotten hurt, maybe a lost hiker. The woods were too still. The insects weren't chirping. Even the stream nearby sounded muffled. Nothing, just shadows. I stayed up the rest of the night with my knife in one hand and my flashlight in the other, just waiting to hear it again. It came from around it, like the scream was echoing out of the air, not its lungs. The next morning I hiked the perimeter, calling out, but no one answered. No footprints. No gear, no trash, no trail, even. That night I considered packing up and leaving, but I told myself I was overreacting. Maybe it was an animal. I didn't even stop to put my boots on. I just ran barefoot until I found the trail, until the screaming faded into silence behind me. But then the second night came, and at exactly 3:12 a.m., it happened again. The same scream, same tone, same length. And again, it stopped suddenly, like someone pressing pause on a recording. This time I didn't move. I didn't even breathe. From the 1980s, a woman went missing while hiking alone. They found her camp, but no trace of her. One witness, a hunter, said he heard screaming from the hollow. Same time, 3:12, I'm wrestling. Heavy, fast footfalls through underbrush. Like something was running, but not toward me. It was as if the scream was chasing something, or someone. Too tall. Pale, lanky limbs, hunched posture. Its face was ... wrong. Stretched, like it didn't belong on a human skull. And its mouth wide, black, open let out the scream again. But there was nothing. Just that scream. On the third day, I hiked out to the nearest ranger outpost I could find, about 6 miles away, and reported what I heard. You said 3:12 exactly? He asked. I nodded. There's no one out there. I wanted to believe that. I really did. So I hiked back, determined to spend one last night before heading out, just to prove to myself it was nothing. But that final night, something changed. As I lay awake, gripping my flashlight, waiting for the scream, I felt something different in the air. 3:12 a.m. came, and the scream ripped through the trees again. But this time it didn't stop. It kept going longer, louder, until it felt like it was moving, climbing up the ridge, getting closer. And underneath the scream I heard something else. I backed away from the tent, flashlight scanning the trees. Then, just past the edge of the hollow, something stepped out. It wasn't a woman. It was tall. Except this time the sound wasn't coming from the creature. It took one slow step toward me. I ran. No gear, no pack. I left everything. When I got to my car the next morning, there was mud up to my knees, cuts on my feet, and no sleep in my eyes. I never went back. A few months later, I tried searching online Reddit threads, missing persons reports, legends about the area. There was one story. He never went back either. I don't know what that thing was. I don't want to know. But some nights when I wake up at 3:12, I swear, I can still hear it, far off, echoing, searching. I thought I'd found shelter, but that church wasn't a place of safety. It was a trap, waiting in the woods for someone just like me. This happened to me in late October of last year, during a solo road trip through the Blue Ridge Mountains. I was between jobs, no real schedule, just chasing that cliché sense of freedom. I camped in state parks, took old side roads, hiked wherever the trail looked interesting. I liked getting lost until I really did. I pulled off onto a gravel Forest Service road to check out an old overlook I'd read about on some blog. No signal, no GPS, just my paper map and vibes. The road got rough, fast, deep ruts, thick mud, but I figured I'd be fine as long as I turned back before dark. Still no trail. I was about to turn back when I heard it music, but the trailhead never showed up. I kept going and going until the road just ended. No turnaround. No sign. Just dense forest in every direction. So I got out to walk, thinking maybe I'd missed the trailhead by a few hundred feet. There were no houses for miles, let alone anything with a working pipe organ. But the sound wasn't imagined, it was real. Slow, deliberate chords like an old hymn. I wandered for about an hour. Not yet. I even took a few photos. I thought maybe I'd found some long-forgotten landmark, a historical church lost to time. Soft organ music, faint, drifting through the trees. I froze. The air inside was cool, almost damp, and the smell would smoke old pages, and something sweeter underneath, like decaying flowers. No birds, no wind. It was like I'd been picked up and dropped into a different forest altogether. Even my footsteps sounded muffled. The trees were taller now, impossibly tall. Their trunks blackened, their branches twisted like claws. A Bible lay open in front of a rusted cross. I couldn't read the passage. The words were in some language I didn't recognize. The letters almost moved when I looked too long. It didn't make sense, and then I saw it. Tucked between the trees like it had always been there, a small wooden church. It looked ancient. Hand-hewn logs. A crooked steeple missing its bell. Moss growing up the sides. But it wasn't abandoned. The front doors stood wide open. Candles flickered inside, dozens of them lining the aisles, the altar, even the pulpit. Something was moving behind it slowly, scraping against the wood, like fingernails or bones on old stone. And the organ was playing itself. No one sat at it, but the keys were moving. I should have run. My windows fogged, my map warped from dampness. It hadn't been that cold earlier. I checked my phone. The date was still the same, but the time had jumped forward nearly 4 hours. Just static. Blurred light. One of them showed the church steps, but they were empty, like the door had never opened. But curiosity pulled me in. I walked up the creaking steps into the aisle, whispering hello, just to break the silence. It's a blurry shot, taken as I turned to leave the church. At first glance, it just looks like candlelight. Washed out last spring. No one should have made it through. I don't know. Eventually, by sheer luck or something else, I found my car. There were no pews, just wooden benches arranged in a half circle around the altar. Still, I wasn't afraid. I turned to leave, and that's when I noticed the forest outside was different. I stepped out and immediately felt it, the silence. The road was gone, completely gone, replaced by thick bramble and moss. I spun in place, trying to retrace my steps. Nothing looked familiar. I ran back into the church, hoping for signal, for anything. No bars, no light switch. The candles were still burning. And the organ had stopped. But something else had started. A sound from the basement. Not footsteps, breathing, low, labored, like someone had been waiting a very long time to exhale. The basement door sat half open behind the altar. I hadn't noticed it before. Now I couldn't look away. I backed out of the church, but I swear, as I stepped down the stairs, I heard the organ begin again, faster now, frantic, discordant. I ran. I didn't know which way to go, but I ran until my lungs burned. The trees blurred. The light faded. Hours passed. Or maybe minutes. But even that wasn't right. It was covered in a thin layer of frost. I drove back to the ranger station in silence. When I told them what I'd seen, they stared at me like I was crazy. "There's no church out there," one of them said. "Not for 50 miles, that road you mentioned." I pulled up my camera to show them the photos, but every image was corrupted. I still have one picture from that day. But if you brighten the image, you can see the basement door wide open, and a figure at the edge of the frame, tall, thin, staring at me, its eyes like burning holes. I've never gone back to that part of the mountains, but sometimes late at night I hear organ music, and I know the church is still out there, waiting.